I'll just call the meeting to order so we can get going. 6:33, okay. Okay. So thank you all for being here and let's get started. No public is here, so we have no public comment. The minutes, the minutes, a little confusion on the minutes, so hopefully you got the June 12th, 2024, the most recent version, which came from Sherry directly, not the one I sent you. It came from Sherry directly, I believe yesterday or maybe the day before. Those are the ones you got a chance to look at?
Yes.
I
Okay,
don't think we can vote on them anyways, because I wasn't at the meeting, so we need a quorum to vote for the minutes. So we
okay,
need four. So if someone else pops in that was at the meeting.
okay. All right, well, meanwhile, okay, is there anything, and those of you that were at the meeting, any comments? And Karen, the changes you suggested did get made, as you can see, so. Okay, all right, we'll put those aside for now. Thank you, Maureen, because we can't vote on them. We're also not gonna have a financial report. We will have a program report. Here comes Julie. Because of just the timing and the holiday, the 4th of July weekend, the finances for June aren't together yet, which is fine. So we'll vote on that next month as well. So, hi, Julie.
Hi, sorry, I'm late.
We're just gonna move us back to approving the minutes. If we can get that done, that'd be great. Did you get a chance to read the minutes? Julie?
Yes,
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to accept or amend. Anybody want to make that motion?
Sure. I move to accept the minutes of June, what was the date again?
June 12th.
June 12th, 2024, with no additions or corrections.
Okay, great, thank you. Anybody want a second? I know the
I'll
answer is
second.
yes. All right, all right, I saw Julie's hand first, just because you're on a larger screen, so you got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
Right, oh, I gotta record that, don't I? Thank you, Maureen abstained.
Well, I'm writing, but I can write for you, Susan, if you want.
Oh, okay, Maureen.
And I'm not gonna be as detailed as Sherry.
Yeah, well, that's all
Not
right.
right now.
We haven't done much or anything.
Okay.
Maureen abstained because she wasn't here last month or at this.
Yes, yep.
Can't vote on these minutes. Okay, so the financial report I just announced, because of the holiday last week, the June finances aren't quite ready yet. But Karen did work on her holiday to get us a program report. So thank you, Karen. And we can look at that. This Excel spreadsheet.
yeah, so programming's on track. Summer is always a little bit slower than the rest of the year. People are out and about and not into the center quite as much. We have more instructors that are on vacations and things like that.
Yeah.
So all is good. The center's been active and busy. The numbers are on the report, but those weren't anything unexpected.
Yep. Yeah, there was a drop off, but not, June. I mean, people have a lot of other commitments and activities and happenings in June. Plus, we had that horrible heat week. We had 1 week that was so hot. It may have kept some people away in June. Any questions about the program report at this point?
No, but it seems like the numbers, even though they dropped off, they've been consistently going up, for the whole
yeah.
year. So that's great to see.
Yeah, I don't know if anything could have happened yet, Karen, but you were gonna look into or see if somebody could look into whether we could get a year to year or, previous year, this year comparison.
I mean,
No
I have it all saved. I could send it out. I just have to figure out the better way to present it to you, but I hadn't put any thought into that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you got your hands full right now. You got new staff, you got staff leaving, it's not an urgent thing, but maybe sometime in the fall, if we could get something, or by the fall, if we could get something to look at.
Yeah.
So we could compare year to year, because that's probably, and I would think, I don't know, but I suspect that the number, if they've gone up significantly, that's a good thing for grants and for funders and all that sort of stuff, to know what the percentage increase has been year to year, I would think. Okay, I motion that we accept the program report as presented.
I second.
Christina has seconded. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Okay, and no opposition. Thank you.
Can I
Okay,
ask, and related to that,
sure.
and I don't know, Karen, if you get this or maybe I should know where this is. Do we get any kind of stats on the growth of the population in the town of people over the age of 65? So that would even help you with planning, like, oh, we grew 10% and we anticipate that more people will be using the senior center.
And we get
Okay.
it from the census when the census goes out. So,
Okay.
and that's what we use to do our newsletters. So we do have some indicator with how many newsletters we mail out, and that's per household newsletters, not seniors. So we've been hovering around 7,000. So it's as
Wow.
accurate as the census data is.
Okay.
But I could try and figure out when the best time is to report that annually. Just say this is what our annual number was from the census.
There is I've sent it out in the past, but I'll send it out again. From the 2020 census, a report. I think it was AARP, age friendly. I'm not sure who put it together. But it takes that census data from Wakefield and breaks it down to all the minutia that the census breaks it down to, and it focused on I don't know if it's 60 and older. Is it 60 and older? But I'll send that out again just so you can see as well what
Great.
what that looks like.
Did you guys
Okay.
also see the good news about the tax credit going up? That was exciting.
The circuit breaker tax credit
The senior property tax exemption credit.
for the circuit breaker, yeah. I think that's the one you're talking about.
Yes, yeah, yep, yeah.
Yeah, that was good news. That's
Yeah.
something that people can take advantage of. So that starts on August 1st. People can start applying. And it's basically if you got the circuit breaker tax when you did your taxes, you're eligible for the Wakefield one. Essentially, you go in and work with them and they can help with the application.
Does that apply to the circuit breaker applies to renters too? Does it apply to renters, what you're talking about right now? The August 1st implement, do you know?
That
I
circuit
think it
breaker, yeah.
says you have to have owned and occupied a home in Wakefield for at least 10 consecutive years.
Oh, okay. So that wouldn't apply to renters, even though if somebody's rented, it doesn't say anything about renting, because renters can, if they qualify, they can get a circuit breaker as well. Because
From the state.
yeah, assumedly a portion of their rent goes to taxes, right?
So this is just the town though, right?
Okay, this is just the town. Oh,
Is
good.
that what you're
point.
talking about, Julie, the town of Wakefield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So they adopted it to go. The towns can adopt locally if they want to match. And then Wakefield this past year, Victor presented it at town meeting to increase it, and it got approved.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, so you want to move into the program report, Karen?
Yeah, so summer programs in full swing. Our field trips start up in a couple of weeks. We haven't used the school bus or the activity van yet, but we're having people register for that. We do still have openings. Construction is going well upstairs. They finished the plastering, so I think painting might be next. I'm not sure. It's keeping us busy working with that, and DPW is presenting an update at the town council meeting on Monday night to where we are with the construction project for the ARPA funds. Really, it's the same. It's numbers kind of are lower in the summer some days than others for our events. So we're just getting started with them. We had a barbecue today we had about 20 people there. We have a joint thing with Stoneham going on, a barbecue at the end of the summer, with the field trips, the classes, and I'm starting to work on fall programming now so I'm going to reach out to Blue Cross Blue Shield to set up some countdown to Medicare and Medicare discussions as we go into open enrollment. And we're looking at bringing in PACE to come and talk about that program to people. And we are Patrick Curley is coming back in the fall to do another elder affairs planning seminar. So those are all things that we have on the horizon, and I'm waiting until we have a little bit more of an estimate of when the renovation that's going to be done to plan the senior resource fair, because I would like to lump it in with having a senior resource fair for the couple of hours dedicated seniors, but then have an open house for the public to be able to come in and see the new space without having to be 60 and over. The senior resource fair is dedicated to 60 and over, but that would allow residents to come in and see the senior center.
That's a great idea. Put those two together, yeah. That's a great idea. So that, when the new staff, I forget her first name, I can't remember her name. She
Catherine
started,
Delarty is our new staff member. She started this week, so it's Maureen Howlett's last day tomorrow. So we're having cupcakes for her before bingo, and then she'll have her last bingo call. Catherine has been shadowing her this week, so that's going really well. She's been a great addition already, and really fast learner. So we're excited to have her on board.
that's great, that's great. So, and she's full-time, so she's there from whatever, 8:30 to 4:30, more or less.
8 to 4, and then 8 to 12:30. Yeah,
Great. That's great. Well, I'm gonna stop by tomorrow. You think the cupcakes will be what, around 12:15 or 12:30?
12:15.
12:15,
Yeah,
okay.
it's going to be the half an hour before bingo starts. So we just welcome. We're doing it more of an open house. We welcome people to come and say goodbye to Maureen. So
Yeah, yeah,
they'll be
yeah.
they'll be buying their bingo tickets, but also being able to have cupcakes and water and enjoy her company.
How's she feeling about it, do you think?
And she seems pretty excited. Actually, she's got a vacation coming up next week or this weekend, so she's focused on that. So she seems okay. And she's told everybody she's planning on coming back and doing some volunteering and
Some
stuff.
volunteer work, that's great, yeah.
Mhm.
Great, that's great. Okay. Okay, any questions or comments or anything for the Karen or discussion for Karen that you want to have? And what about your vacation? I will add your director's report. Let me ask you that. Are you gonna get any vacation this summer, Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You don't have to tell us. Just or what? Just want you
Oh,
to,
but at a different note, though, to follow up with Carol, if we're able to get the social work intern, I think it might be a good thing. We could have them work on some of the loneliness project stuff that came out to do a good collaboration with the health department. And one thought would be to have that person work on setting up like the visiting via phone or in person visits. So if we have volunteers who want to go and visit people who may be homebound or want to make phone calls. So I thought that might be a good project for an intern to do. So hopefully they could fall under primarily me when they're there, or Beth if she's there, but they could work in the office space and work on that program. And that would tie nicely with that loneliness study that town council had requested.
So I can give you a little brief update on that if this seems the time, Susan.
well,
On the social work.
we just have to accept Karen's report, a motion.
Absolutely.
So you're making a motion, Carol, to accept?
I
Karen?
am making a
thank you.
motion to accept Karen's program report.
And I think Christine is seconding it, I think. I just saw her move her arm. So. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. Yeah, all right, go ahead. It's. we'll just-
Wherever, doesn't matter. I
No, all
just-
right, we'll just move it up into matters not anticipated before.
No, sure.
before Maureen tells us things.
So it's complicated to get a social work intern. So with thanks to Julie, I was able to connect with Professor Catherine Willard at Merrimack College. She's the field instructor director for their Masters in Social Work program. She goes by Katie, which I learned today. So thank you for that, Julie. She and I have a meeting set up for next Wednesday at 10:30. And the issue, I would have to supervise the person. It has to be an LICSW. And the issue, it looks like, will be around whether, because I don't work there or I'm not on, even though I could come on site to supervise a student. So there's two different kinds of supervisors. There's kind of the operational supervisor, the person who works there, and then they have to have like a clinical social worker. And so I'm hoping that that will work out. I'd be happy to go on site, 2 or 3 hours a week to supervise a person, but I won't know until after I meet with her if it's even possible. But it's a complicated process. And if she says it's possible, but they don't have any students, then I will look at some of the there's like 3 other social work schools, Salem State probably being the most likely and closest school for us. So that's where it's at. We're moving forward. And then I think your idea about the loneliness project, and certainly either the school with me or just me would want to sketch out what an internship would look like, what they would be working on. The school has requirements for the kind of things you have to do and all of that. So, yeah, I'm not sure that somebody would be able to go out and do home visits by themselves, but I don't know. But maybe with Beth, because I did tell her about Beth.
And I don't mean for actually the social worker to go do the home visits. I mean to set up one of the
Oh, okay.
like social visits,
Yep.
not professional visits.
Yep. No, I think there's a lot of projects. I think last time somebody talked about the great idea of like a roommate matching kind of service, and there's just endless things that somebody could do. So we'll work it out, and I'll try to is Beth around this week? I'm going to try to reach out to her as well before I talk to Professor Willard again about her background, so I can, just be clear about that.
Yeah, so she's in from 1:15 until 4 on Monday through Thursday.
1:15 to 4, Monday through Thursday. Okay.
Karen, when you have we have volunteers that work there, you have to run a query on everybody, right? So do you get charged for queries, or can the town just run them when it's appropriate, when it's
Yeah, I
requested?
have an account so I can enter them into the system. I don't think we get charged. It says $0 when I run it. So I think it's okay. I think we must pay into it, or I'm not sure, but
No, I don't think you get charged for that. We don't, so I would.
So if there was like a companion program or something else that volunteers were meeting
We
with
report it in.
residents, yeah, you would have, okay, that's great. That's good to know.
That is good. And if I'm going to be there in that capacity, we feel people can run one on me too, and just don't share my criminal history with anybody. That would be embarrassing.
Well, with, money, but money talks,
Oh,
Carol.
money talks. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
well-
a new van or something. Yeah.
All will be revealed if the money's good enough.
So anyway, stay tuned. I'm really excited. I think it would be a great opportunity and would really benefit you and, the people who use the senior center. I think it would be great to have an extra pair of hands with a lot of energy. So thanks again, Julie, for making that happen.
It's great, Julie. Okay, the other matter not anticipated that I want to bring up now, as long as we're on that topic, is the town, I don't know, the town is once again putting a committee together. I think, I sent you about housing.
Housing production plan, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how that differs from the affordable housing, differs from the master vision, differs from the, and I don't mean that sarcastically, it sounds a little cheeky when I'm saying it, but there's a lot of things that go on and then it's hard to know what happens to them. But anyway, the town has asked for a representative from the, among other things, the Council on Aging, who might be interested in serving on that committee. And I heard from two people who said, one who said, yes, I would love to. Another who said, yes, I would love to, but the timing's not right. But is there anybody else who would be interested in doing that, participating in the,
I'm on enough committees these days.
I know, well, you're probably, the housing authority is gonna be on it anyway. So
Yeah.
And I'm on the housing trust committee.
yeah, and they're gonna be
this
part of that
committee.
too, so.
I'm like on 4 boards right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good.
It's a time-limited committee with a goal to have the plan completed by February 2025. So it's, another 8 months, 4 meetings and 2 public workshops.
So we have someone interested?
We do, Carol's interested.
That
Oh,
would be
excellent.
me, having read the last housing
Yeah.
production plan, which expired in 2020. So the last one was for 2015 to 2020. I was really interested, I'll spare you kind of all the details, but in the population projections, so they projected that the senior population, I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I got it right, from 2010, 14.7% of Wakefield are seniors or were in 2010. And by 2035, they predict that number will jump to 27.7. So it's a really big jump with the expected income challenges. And so a lot of challenges in the housing issues. And they also went on to say, I don't think this will be a surprise either, that Wakefield used to attract a lot of young families with young kids. And now, because it's so expensive, it's harder for them to come in. So there's a lot of aging baby boomers who also don't have anywhere to move to. So this is in the 2015 to 2020 plan, but I'm imagining that it will pick up with those same themes as well as with the inclusive zoning and the affordability, et cetera. So interest. So if nobody else wants to do it, I'm happy to step back as the newest person and let someone go ahead of me. But if no one else wants to do it, I'd be happy to do it.
I fall in the category of want to, but don't have the
But
capacity.
don't have
Have
the
the
time.
capacity. Well, there are going to be two public workshops, so those probably will be evening sessions. So, those of us that may be interested could also attend those and get updates and have, focus groups or whatever they're going to do at those workshops. So thank you, Carol.
Appreciate Carol's enthusiasm too.
Yeah, thank you,
So-
Well,
Carol.
we'll see. In a couple months, I may have a different song to sing, but I saw that they put out an RFP for a consultant who leads the project. I don't know who they selected, but those bids were due at the end of June. Do you happen to know, Maureen, who?
I don't feel like Sam said anything. We had a Affordable Housing Trust meeting Monday night, and I'm not sure she talked about that, right? Those would go through Sam, right? The planner?
Yep, I would assume so, but I'm new to all of this. I just read the RFP and saw that they were due at the end of June, so maybe they haven't
Maybe
selected
they're
them.
still reviewing them, right?
Yeah.
And the town council meets Monday, so it's possible it's on the agenda.
That makes sense. Yep.
We can just make that up, but it makes sense. Well, thank you, Carol. That's
Thank
great.
you,
I
Carol.
think,
So I think I will send a memo to Sherry Dalton. Say we've nominated or you've accepted the role on behalf of the COA, Carol.
Sure, and
and
anything
then-
you need me to do, I'm happy to do.
Yeah, I don't know what'll happen next, but something will happen eventually, I'm sure. Okay, well, thank you all. Okay, so on the subject of housing,
I wish I had better news for you all.
I know.
So I remember, I'm just trying to recollect everything that we talked about before. We wanted to talk about like what happens when someone comes into the housing authority. Is that what you
Yeah,
brought
that's
up?
what, Karen, at the last meeting when you weren't here, Karen did talk a bit about what happens when somebody shows up at the senior center and is in need of housing or emergency housing or just what resources. So we talked about that, but she did not, you're talking on behalf of the Wakefield Housing Authority. What
Right.
happens when someone shows up or calls or needs housing in Wakefield and comes to
So-
you.
Usually what we do if someone comes in, we just introduce them to the system that we have of applications. The state public housing program is at Harts Hill, and we have 116 one-bedroom units there. That's an online application system run by the state, EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. We will give folks a paper application, but we do encourage people to apply online. They can have a login and they can check their application, update it on their own. It's really, it's not the most friendly system, to be honest with you. They're working on it. It's been a system that's been a work in progress for, I don't know, maybe like 5 years now they've been using the CHAMP system. But folks really need to, and we help anybody that wants to help. But the waiting list it's long because it's a statewide waiting list. So someone applies, they can check off as many housing authorities as they want. Everybody has to check off, where they're living, if they're local, if they're a veteran, if they're a minority. And then if they're homeless, they can check off that emergency priority. There's an agency that the state hires to screen the emergency priorities. So they then will hear from that agency and have to provide documentation to get that emergency priority. So it's a process. And we used to be able to do that. but we can't do that anymore.
So Maureen, I just want to clarify. So somebody submits an application, they claim an emergency,
Mhm.
and then that is seen fairly quickly, right? That's
So,
screened.
right, but it's screened by they're called ASG, the company that's hired by EOHLC to do that. So it can take some time though, because
Yeah,
they're doing
yeah.
it for the whole state. So
Right.
they'll pull the applicants that are, asked for that emergency. And we just tell everybody, even if they call us or come in, you have to have your documentation or you won't receive the emergency priority.
Mhm.
And it's
Yep.
hard because a lot of people are in trouble financially, but you can't really prove an emergency. You have to
Yeah.
be homeless through no fault of your own is the way it's worded. So if you're evicted for a non-payment of rent, you don't qualify for that. It's, since the state took it over, I think they're not giving out as many emergencies. I mean, we used to be able to be a little bit more flexible when we were doing it, with our local people, but that's no more. But we do get to people sometimes, so we can help coach people, what they need for documents.
Mhm.
So that's what we have at Harts Hill. And just to let you know, on Champ, that I have my May numbers, we had 7,340 people on that waiting list for 116 units. I mean, it's
So,
not,
so that's the number of people that have specified Wakefield as a
Yes.
possible, okay.
yeah.
Wow.
And about half of those applicants are people under the age of 60 with a disability.
Mhm.
So we have to have 13.5% of our population up at Harts Hill has to be under 60 and disabled. So if we're below that number, we can pull a list specifically for underage disabled. We can pull a list specifically for minorities. Those are the numbers that we kind of keep track of. But we've had some movement. We really have. We've had a lot of vacancies this year, so we've been able to house a lot of people. And we've been able to get to some local people, which is nice. We also have paper applications only for our federal programs. Harts Hill Heights, we have 22 one-bedroom units. Crystal View, we have 40 one-bedroom units. And at Lincoln School, we have 10.
Are those all senior units?
They're all senior. Those are all senior. And federal is 62 and over, not 60 and over. So those are all separate applications. Again, they're paper applications. We're more than happy to mail them to people. You can come in and get them. They are also all on our website and you can download them and print them off at home. And so those lists aren't as big. The Crystal View waiting list is 180 people. Harts Hill Heights is 110 and Lincoln School is 132. There's only 10 units there. So it's they're small programs.
How long can somebody stay on the waiting list before they have to reapply or not reapply, but
They can.
update their
So
information? Yeah.
we can do an update every once in a while when the list gets stale. We'll send out letters to everybody to make sure they're still interested. So they can stay on the list as long as they want.
Okay.
And
okay.
people do fall off the list. We find when we have a vacancy and we call, we start sending letters to people that we don't hear from everybody. They're housed somewhere else or, people do pass away, unfortunately, on the list.
Yep. Yep.
It's just hard because when you talk about emergency housing, if someone's going to be homeless tomorrow, there is nothing we can do to help them. I mean, then you have to go to the state and try to get into the shelter system, which is really the only option that people have, or find a family member, which, obviously we always encourage. The shelter system is tough, especially for a senior. The other program that we do have though is we have 15 congregate units at Lincoln School. So sometimes we can, if the timing is right, and we have a vacant room, we've been able to help a lot of people that were homeless. Most of the folks we take in that program are facing some kind of housing crisis, and we can take them in and they get a room. There's 5 bedrooms in each suite and they share, the kitchen and the living room and the bathrooms. But that gets people on their feet, and then sometimes they move to one of the other programs, if they want to. Some people choose to stay there. They like living with people. And some people want their own space. So that's basically what we have. It's really hard though. It's frustrating. We do see and hear from a lot of folks. I do get a lot of phone calls. Well, I'm going to be dead by the time I get up on the top of the list. And And it's just hard to tell people all the
Yeah,
time that
yeah.
you gotta hang in there, fill out as many applications as you can. Make sure you're responding to us and updating your information. And I said this to Karen before too. We were supposed to go to the senior center and we'll have to do that at some point. I always encourage people, when you're on the fence, apply
Yeah.
early. There's no penalty if we call you and you don't want it or you're not ready. You can either stay on the list or reapply. But I always tell people you should apply before the hard part is people don't think about housing or public housing until they're in that crisis mode,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they're out of money and they can't afford their house anymore, or the house got sold and there's a new landlord and they're raising the rent. We hear all those kinds of stories. Or they're selling the house and, the new owners want it empty. We see a lot of that. We hear a lot of those stories. So if we,
Marina, oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Am
I
I
can talk
understanding
forever.
correctly on the federal,
Yep,
that somebody has to apply to each property?
they do. Yeah, they're all
Okay.
different. They're all a little bit different with
Okay.
funding sources. So they all have a
Okay.
different waiting list.
And what about what I always like I think they're called the Congo homes. I think they're in Melrose actually, but across from the senior center in Melrose, is that like a federal, what is that property? Do we have,
I'm not sure. Melrose has a lot too. They have a lot of public housing.
or like the Cephalo Center that's in Melrose, is that a private or is that a federal?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look more. I know they have
Okay.
more housing, more senior housing than we do.
Yeah, it's behind the
Um,
Jerry Jingle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we also have a pretty large Section 8 program. We have 378 Section 8 vouchers. So, we encourage seniors also, apply for a Section 8 voucher. Though that's a great way to stay in private housing,
Mhm.
private apartment. But that waiting list is about 6 years for a local Wakefield resident, which is pretty short for around the state, 6 years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But that is, we have a lot of one-bedroom seniors on that program as well. But again, it's not for someone that's coming in and they're in crisis today. There is no emergency priority for the Section 8 program. That wait list is first come, first serve. Which I like and I don't like, because I like it because it's cleaner and it's easier and you're not trying to decide if someone can skip everybody else on the waiting list. But the state's the only one that allows that emergency priority.
Can I ask two quick questions? One
Sure.
is the disability include physical and mental health disabilities? And is that determined by if they get Social Security disability, or what's the benchmark for somebody being disabled?
It's, we do have it written out in a regulation, but we do require medical documentation from
For that?
someone's, physician or, and it is medical. I mean, it is physical and mental. So.
Okay. And then my other question, I unfortunately think I know the answer, but there is no shelter for seniors who are homeless.
I don't-
A shelter designated. Does anybody know? I don't recall in my prior work life, but I'm thinking if there isn't, there should be. Because I wouldn't want my 82-year-old mother, or I wouldn't want to go myself to a shelter
No,
for sure.
no, I
But
don't
I
think
wouldn't
that
want
there
to be
is.
on the street either, so,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
tough.
think there is. I think you're right, Carol. There should be one for
Yeah.
seniors, but
right.
there's not even that many shelters and they're just
Right,
not the
right.
optimal place. I mean, my understanding from people is you have to, and usually they would probably go see Jason Stone, and he might help someone with that.
Yeah,
But even for families, if we get families in that, you really have to go to the DTA office and sit there all day and wait for someone and see if they can help you. There are some like emergency housing vouchers through the state, MRVP, it's called AHVP.
Mhm.
But again, there's a waiting list for those as well. We don't have that program in Wakefield. But that's another option for folks. And although I complain a lot about the CHAMP waiting list because it's so out of control, you do have the opportunity, especially if you get that emergency priority, to check off as many housing authorities as you want. And you might get called by more than one housing authority. The hard part about that though is that the local resident, they don't want to move, you know, but sometimes if you're really gonna be homeless, you have to take that unit in Reading.
And go.
Um,
The other challenge, having done a lot of work with people who are homeless, is they may not have phones or a mailing address. We hear that all the time.
Yep,
And then they miss a letter or they miss a
the call.
deadline.
Yeah,
And that's another really big challenge when you're in some kind of housing flux.
it happens
So-
all the time too with,
Yeah, I bet.
so if we pull a list from Champ, for example, we pull 50 applicants and we have to send out a packet. It prints right off the website.
Yeah.
We have to send this packet out in the mail. A lot of people ignore them. They return to sender. Like you said, they move, maybe they're couch surfing, they don't get them. It's really not a great, and if they do get that emergency priority and they're on several waiting lists, they might get packets from more than one housing authority. So sometimes I've had applicants who think, well, I sent the packet back to Salem. Why do I need to send you a packet?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a, they're working on it. I feel like it could be less complicated for people. I think it was a little easier when it was very localized. But EOHLC looks at the state housing portfolio as the state's housing. You know, they really are trying to help everybody across the state. Where in Wakefield, I feel like we did a better job of helping our local people. And sometimes I find that we move someone in that's not local and they don't stay or they don't want to stay. We just had someone move in maybe 3 or 4 months ago and he walked in today and he got pulled on the Danvers list and that's where he was originally from and he's moving to Danvers.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that was kind of a waste of everybody's time, but we could have helped someone else.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the way the list is working right now.
So Maureen, is there on the champ list, if somebody, is there a limit to how many placements they can turn down before they get tossed?
Yes, 3.
Great, they can turn down 3 and stay?
They can only turn down 3 and then they might lose their priority, so.
Okay,
So they can turn down 2. And obviously, there's good reasons sometimes to turn
Yeah.
things down. Someone is suddenly sick or
right,
hospitalized
right,
or,
right.
you know.
Right.
But yeah, so that you also need to be careful. You don't go in and check off 50 housing
Right,
authorities, you
right,
know,
right,
only
right.
maybe your local community, the ones that are all touching it so that you know that you hopefully will be able to take one of those units. I mean, there just isn't enough. And I don't think there's ever gonna be enough. I mean, they're not really, they haven't built a lot of public housing like they used to.
Mhm.
We talked about it obviously Monday night at the Housing Trust Committee meeting. It's hard. I mean, we talked about a lot, trying to build something that's just, you know, affordable, not even affordable, but public housing or subsidized housing of some sort. You know, a whole building instead of the buildings that we're building now where 18% of them might be affordable. And that's really, the affordable rates for this area are pretty high. They're
Well, I
still
give
high.
you a lot of credit for going to work every day.
Yeah.
You don't get to say yes very often.
Yeah, but we do some, and it's really nice when we are able to help someone and they really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. So we are always able to help people. They
Well,
might not be happy about it afterwards, but
yeah,
most
that's
people
good to
are.
hear. That's good to hear. So in terms of like, if any of us in our travels, are, come across somebody who lives in Wakefield and they say, oh, yeah, do you know if the senior center can help me or who can help me? My landlord is selling my building and I have to get out. Should we send them to you, not you personally, but to the housing authority or to the senior center? What would be the
I would
first?
send them to us, send them
Okay.
right down to our office and we can give
Okay.
them applications. We can help them. We might not be able to do it at that moment or
Right,
make
but
an
they can make
appointment,
an appointment or something, yeah.
but we can certainly get them started. And this town is great because we do have the senior center staff that helps people as well. And we have Jason Stone and Jen W. at the police station. I mean, there's just a lot of people in this town that are available to help.
And what is the office address again?
26 Crescent Street. We're at the Lincoln School in the basement. right
Okay.
across from the police station.
Yeah, all right. Okay,
Or people can call us too, and we can mail them it or email them applications. We can
and what is
do
your phone number, please?
781-245-7328.
That's directly into the Housing Authority.
That's our, but
Thank
of course,
you.
we have one of those systems where we have all extensions and,
Yeah, I know,
um,
okay.
but
So
we have a
the-
website too. So www.wakefieldhousing.org, and all
okay.
this information is on our website.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments or?
I have a comment. I think this is the time to bring it up. I did connect with Jason Stone. Remember, I had said I would look into some housing things. He had COVID. He brought COVID back from his vacation instead of a magnet for the refrigerator. But we're going to connect again. I knew Jason from before, but the good news, and maybe you were part of this, Maureen or Karen, I'm not sure, or anybody. He said he had just come out of a meeting with the Mystic, no, not Mystic Valley Elder Services, but the Mystic Valley Public Health Coalition, which is made up of Mystic Valley Elder Services is on it, and the Department of Public Health, and et cetera, a lot of agencies and housing. He said it's just funny that you called to talk about housing, because that's what we were just talking about, and we feel like it's time that we have to do something, because everybody's saying the same thing. Because I
Yep.
think there's the public housing cohort, and then there's the people who have too much income or too many assets to qualify, but they still can't afford their housing. And so he said they were going to get a group of interested people together in the near future, and he would keep us all up to date so that maybe we could weigh in. So he's a great guy.
He is. He's super. And I'm glad you just brought up income eligibility, Carol. I didn't mention that. The state program, the income limits are actually quite a bit higher than the federal programs.
Mhm.
So that's another check for Harts Hill. You can certainly have more assets and more income in the state program. And the state program also has an elderly exclusion of wages. If you're over 62,
Really?
and
Okay.
you have a part-time job at Shaw's, we will exclude, it's 20 hours of the current, I want to call it a wage rate, but prevailing wage. What is it? The
15 is minimum wage. yeah.
minimum wage. Thank you. We do prevailing wages, all this stuff there. So right now I think it's $15,600 gets excluded. So that's a bonus too for living in the state. program.
Wow, okay, but not federal, that doesn't.
Yeah, we don't exclude, we wouldn't exclude your social security or your retirement, but you could have a part-time
Mm.
job and it gets excluded. It's nice.
Well, that amount would go up and down for this population, right? I mean, one would assume, just because you're working at Shaw's this year, doesn't mean you'll be there next year or whatever.
No, but we have a few people that take advantage of it and it's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, that's
And
great.
trust me, if they come in at 60 and then they turn 62, they're coming right to the office. I'm 62 now.
And what does that mean? When you
They
say?
get the deduction when they're
Oh, they get the
62. Yeah,
deduction. Oh, I see what you're
so-
saying. Okay, I see. I see what you're saying. Okay, well. I guess it's encouraging that there's so many people and organizations and places concerned. Change takes time though, and the current state is, it is what it is. And I get Zillow listings in the in my email, maybe some of you do, not that I'm looking to buy, but and I saw almost $1 million in Wakefield, a 3-bedroom. It's half a house. It's a 3-bedroom. I think there might be 3 baths. I mean, it looked pretty nice. It's all refurbished, but not much outside space. And I got that today and I thought, oh my God, almost 989,000 is the list price. It just like knocked my socks off, knocked my socks off.
Yeah, it's very expensive. And I think planning, like Karen probably has had some programs for seniors for just financial planning to try and decide, I know you said we do have a lot of seniors that own these homes, you have a lot of equity in your home. I know it's hard to sell and you don't want to have to sell your house, but sometimes that's the best plan
Right.
is to use that equity so that you can live, in a nice apartment or And it's unfortunate Wakefield doesn't have a lot of like ability to downsize.
Mhm.
Condos are just as expensive.
Or help people, with those bigger houses, maybe if they're open to it, bring in either roommates, bring
yeah.
in other people. But anyway, so we can't solve that right now,
No, we can't.
but we have to keep talking about it as a society, so. All right, thank you,
Can I-
Maureen.
Can I ask a question? So Maureen, that was really helpful. I didn't know all that, so that was awesome. So thank you. How do you and Karen, or how do your two agencies, how do you work together, or is it more just a bridge, or I'm just sort of curious, like how you collaborate with the senior center, like aside from education, is there anything directly, or is it more just resource to resource?
I would say, what do you think, Karen? More resource to resource. I mean,
Yeah.
we
I
just
think
can
so
pick
too.
up the phone and call each other, and we have Beth, we share Beth. So I think that's a
Yeah.
good,
Right.
it's a
Yeah,
good.
so that makes a great bridge, even though she separates her time, like when she's with us, she's with us, but she's our housing expert. So we send people to talk to her, or we pick up the phone and call housing. It was the same relationship when I was the veterans officer too. Like I had a close relationship with housing because we had a lot of the same clients. So I think it's just, it's helpful that Maureen is on the board because then we see each other every month at the meeting. So just active communication with each other. If we have a senior that's in crisis that comes to us, then we pick up the phone and call housing to connect them with housing. And a lot of the services will carry over, especially if they're in crisis, that we may be helping connect them with Mystic Valley or connect them with other services, or, we're both trying to help the same person and stay in communication about them. And link in like a Jason or link in Jen W from the police department. So as the community, link in all the key players that can get them help.
Yeah, we have helped some people together.
We have.
Awesome work. Thank you.
Good question, yeah. Question, Christina. Okay, all right, we're at the adjournment point. Unless there's another matter not anticipated, I'll stick in at the option at the end right now. Anybody want to bring up anything?
Are we gonna meet in August?
No,
No, August, we're gonna have off. Nice. Okay,
in September will be our next meeting.
Okay.
Whatever the appropriate, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but September will be the next.
perfect. Okay, I'll
Mhm.
make an motion to adjourn at 7:21.
So, I'll second it. All in favor? Okay, all agree. Maureen, will you send those notes or what?
I will try. They're chicken scratch, which is how I do my minutes, so I'm
Okay.
sure that I can't scan these to Sherry. She'll be like, what? But I will
Okay.
try to,
Or
yeah.
you can,
And I won't nearly be as good as Sherry, and you will not have them tomorrow.
well, you know what, send your notes to me, because I was here present at the meeting and I
Okay.
took some notes too, so I'll just write them up, but they won't be anywhere near, you're right. Just send me
Okay.
your notes, okay?
Will do.
And I'll do them, okay?
All right, I'm going to put them in my lunch bag now, so I can scan them tomorrow morning.
Make sure there's no tuna fish in there, okay?
All right, enjoy the
All
rest
right.
of the
Bye,
summer,
everyone.
everyone.
Stay cool.
Everyone.
Enjoy
Bye.
the summer.
Bye.